Hey guys, welcome into Fantasy Football Academy 2020. As always, I am the Dean, and I'm here with a special mock draft bold prediction Monday with Professor Chet Yoder. Chet, how are you doing?
Doing good, man. Glad to be here.
Good. Hey, we love having you. Guys, look, do me a favor, down at the bottom, you watching the show, leave a comment for Chet, leave questions for me. If you like the show, you love the show, you hate the show, let me know what's going on. Down at the bottom, subscribe, like, and share. We're making this for you guys, okay? We are here, and we're doing this bold prediction show. We're doing the mock drafts to get you farther into the year, okay? We're coming up on the time when a lot of people are going to start doing their drafts. We're into August. About the end of August is when everybody really starts getting heavy into drafting, and you're getting the team that you're going to be stuck with the whole year, okay, or at least the first part of the year, because as we're going to see here later, the team that you draft is not going to be the team you end up with, okay? You're going to have drops, you're going to have waiver wire acquisitions, you're going to have trade proposals, you're going to have all this stuff going on. So we're getting you set to get into the year and be able to focus on the future, okay? So NFL news, as of this taping of this show, they are going to be voting on when to do the opt-out deadline. When is that going to happen? I've heard Tuesday, Wednesday of this coming week. So have you heard anything, Chet?
I have not. I haven't had any information. I got the same stuff you have. That's all I've seen.
All I'm seeing now, the opt-out, for those of you who don't know, the opt-out, if you are a high risk, if you're considered a high-risk player and you opt out, your stipend is $350,000 for the year. If you are not considered a high risk, if you're just pulling out because you don't want to play, maybe a lot of these guys that I'm seeing, I don't know if you've seen anything, but aside from a couple of high-profile players, a lot of these guys that are opting out are doing it because they've either hit a roster spot where they may or may not make the team. They're kind of the secondary, third-string players that may or may not have a future with whatever team they're signed with, but they've signed a contract. And because they've signed a contract, and the wording of the opt-out clause, if you're signed, you get an extra year of NFL credit. So you're credited with this year, and you only get $150,000. Now, some of these guys aren't making these millions of dollars like we see, the half billion dollar man in KC with Pat Mahomes. We always hear about the big contracts. We never hear about the really small ones that these guys sign. So that's what a lot of these players, if you look at who opts out, a lot of these guys that's what they're doing. Now, as far as big names, you want to talk about big names going on this COVID reserve list, which is another list you're going to have to look at. Matt Stafford came out and is on the COVID reserve list, along with Kenny Galladay. Kenny Galladay on the reserve list.
You talk about Stafford. You talk about ruining a franchise. Like, he is their franchise quarterback. And, whatever you want to say, Dean, he is an elite quarterback. I know he hasn't exactly had the best years here on a consistent basis, but he is an elite quarterback. He is, and it's tough to lose a guy like him.
Yeah, imagine if Drew Brees had have stayed in San Diego. That would have been another guy who could have been stuck in a franchise that just didn't go anywhere and didn't do anything. Stafford, where he's been stuck with Detroit, he's put his heart and soul into these guys. Megatron, when he retired, he even came out and he was like, hey, I'm done. I'm tired of trying with this team, with this organization. All right, guys, and we're back. Sorry about that. We had a little technical sound problem here. Unfortunately, I am also the producer of the show. So, whenever we have a little technical problem, I got to pause and we got to check and see what's going on. But hopefully with your guys' help, by subscribing, liking, and sharing. We'll get this show up and going and have the full staff to get you guys such a much better show and such a more high quality. But we're doing everything that we can. We're putting our heart and soul into this, guys, as I hope you will with your fantasy team. So moving on, we're talking about, Matt Stafford being stuck in Detroit. And, he has been phenomenal for fantasy football. Regardless of who this guy is given, he does something with it for your fantasy team. But he's always drafted low. You can get this guy 12th, 13th, even 14th round. You can get this guy after some of your defenses, and that's just ridiculous to think of that high of a quality quarterback being drafted that low.
Well, the problem with Stafford is he doesn't have that sexy appeal. He really doesn't. And then you take Megatron out of the mix, and I think a lot of fantasy owners just forget about Stafford. When you have these top flight guys, you still have, obviously, your Patty Mahomes. You got your Russell Wilson. You even got Aaron Rodgers, who right now pushing 37, still a fantasy football commodity, and he's above Stafford. So, you got guys that are above him and obviously have that sexy value. Dean, there is a range of sexiness when it comes to players when you're trying to build your team. I'm not trying to be weird here about it, but am I right or am I right?
No, you're right. You're right. And, that's one of the things, and I talk about it in my 8 mistakes that are made during the fantasy draft. Go back. If you don't know the episode I'm talking about, down at the bottom, subscribe. Go check it out on the channel. Myself and D-Money did it. We did 8 mistakes that you make during your fantasy draft. And one of those mistakes is honing in on that big name player who he doesn't produce. Okay. This year, the main target is Tom Brady. And Tom Brady is that big pick. He's that big name. He's that one everybody, even if you're a first-time player, everybody knows Tom Brady, and everybody knows that he's a Super Bowl winning, first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback. But look at where he's going. And this is what we're trying to teach you here at the Academy. Look at the environment around him. He's going from an absolutely crummy defensive standing in the division where the only defense he had to worry about was Buffalo, and that was only like last couple of years. Every defense that he's faced in the division has been horrible. Now he's going to the NFC South, and yes, Carolina is suspect. Okay, you got suspect in Atlanta, but he's got to face New Orleans twice, and then even the out of schedule. This isn't the cupcake schedule that he's used to getting in New England. Okay, so he's not getting any younger. He's got his buddy, though, Dean, to play devil's advocate. He's got his buddy Gronk. I know you hate it, too. Hey, he's got his buddy Gronk that's coming hey, look, we don't know how loaded he's going to be stepping off of that cruise ship that he does his cruises on every year. And being in Florida now, come on.
Oh, it's party city.
Hey, look, he's in Tampa. He's probably got the cruise ship backed up to the stadium.
And worse than Boston.
Man, look, he's probably got a golf cart to where he can just go from the stadium to the cruise ship. Well, and he's got to watch the elbow. I mean, come on, this guy's going to get injured more than anything.
I always say this. I think Brady and Gronk, they wanted to make obviously a much better weather decision here. Let's be smart.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, the girls are much more attractive in Tampa Bay than they ever are going to be in New England. I mean, I'm just saying he's looking for a good time. They got all the rings. I just don't think they really are going to aspire for any kind of championship.
Well, look, I hate to bust your bubble on the girl thing, but he's married to Giselle. I mean, so
right.
He's already got the wife. He's already.
Okay, well, we don't need to talk about what pro athletes do on the road, but that's a whole different.
That's going to be a whole show. We're going to try to keep it as family oriented as possible. But but look, we touched on the Pats, and through all this opt out stuff, the Pats have lost the most players, given they haven't been the biggest name players, but they are a lot of backups. So there's not going to be a lot of depth, and most of it has been on the defensive side. 2 big names go out on the defensive side. They lose the linebacker. Who's it? Deontay, Deontay, the linebacker that they lost, and then they lost their cornerback. They had 2 opt-outs on the Pats. Pick it up here real quick. Sorry, guys. This is what happens when we're starting to do a bold prediction show and I go off on a tangent. Let's see. Marquise Lee. They lost Marquise Lee, wide receiver. That was one of the big offensive names that they lost. And then earlier they lost, let's see. And while I'm looking for it, I just came across Devin Funchess' name.
I hate to go down a different road here, but there is a crazy rumor, and this is absolutely crazy. This is why it's called a rumor, circulating in California that George Kittle may be opting out.
Ooh.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
How much is that gonna hurt? And I found the names. It's Dante Hightower, linebacker out for the Pats.
Okay.
And Patrick Chung. That was the safety that I couldn't get. Those are the 2 big names from New England that opted out and is going to make this defense not the defense that it was last year. Okay, so all of this stuff, this will bring up, and this is why we're telling you to look at the environment around certain players. This is what is going to help Josh Allen's fantasy value, being in that division. Stephon Diggs' fantasy value, depending upon who you think is going to win the running back job, whether it be Zach Moss or Devin Singletary, help them in Buffalo, help Tua whenever he decides that they're going to let him take over in Miami, help Fitzpatrick to start off the year, help Devontae Parker to start off the year. Okay, and who knows? Even the Jets might have a shot at winning a few games this year, with this defense just taking a nosedive into oblivion. And I haven't heard this yet on any of the sports talk shows that I've listened to. So I'm going to go ahead on record right now, and I'm going to call this the Brady effect in New England, okay? All of these players opting out in New England, do you really think that they would have been opting out if Tom Brady was still at the helm?
I know, and everybody's been talking about it. Of course, the people in New England are talking about it more than anything. I don't know. I mean, I think COVID has changed people's perspective of life. And I don't know if we want to get into the Tom Brady factor, because that's always going to be there. But just think about COVID. Think about what it's done to Major League Baseball. I mean, we got outbreaks now on teams. Marlins, Cardinals, it's starting to break loose. They could be canceling Major League Baseball maybe this week. And then the NHL, they've been clean. But it's kind of just changed, the way we kind of look at what's important in life, really, to be honest.
Now, let me ask you this. One of the players to recently opt out was Geronimo Allison, wide receiver out of Detroit. Now, with Galladay being on the reserve list, Marvin Jones, how big does he step up?
Yeah, that could be big. That could be big for him. And obviously, he's going to get the opportunity.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch, and it's something that I want you guys to keep an eye on. You're going to have to keep an eye on the COVID reserve list and who opts out between now and whenever this deadline is. So this coming week, we will find out when that list is going to be. So, any other news that we gotta touch on here, Professor?
Well, like I said, I told you about the crazy rumor in San Francisco about Kittle.
And who is that gonna boost up? I mean, you're looking at Mark Andrews he's gonna go from 3 to 2 guaranteed.
Right.
But then people are gonna absolutely lose their mind with Zach Ertz and promote him to the third overall. And I'm not sold on Ertz, just for the simple fact that the only reason that he blew up last year was the fact that their team got absolutely decimated at the wide receiver position, and he was it. he was their number one.
What about your wife's tight end last year? I mean, Higbee.
Oh, Higbee. But again, that's the thing, is that the man had no game over 5 points from 1 to 12. True. And with Everett and him together,
right.
The only wide receiver that they lost was Brandon Cooks, and then they're bringing in Cam Akers, who is basically.
Like I said, the rumor is very far-fetched. It was circulating, but it didn't have much. You know how rumors are supposed to have some kind of substance to it. Mm-hmm. There was no substance yet. So.
I think that might have been started by Seattle.
Well, Kittle's looking for that contract. A lot of 49er fans are waiting for that contract extension. He's got 1 more year left, so I think maybe they're just scared that maybe is he holding out? What's going on?
Yeah, so we'll see. It's going to be something that we're going to need to keep an eye out for. So, all right, so let's get into this bold prediction stuff. Now, I've come up with 10 bold predictions. I don't normally like lists per se, but I made this, and I will put a disclaimer on this, is that one of my 2 homer ones, I put one in because my David Njoku take got totally squashed by him backing out of the trade request. David Njoku has walked back that request. He said he is all in for the Browns. I don't know how that's going to work, being as they gave Austin Hooper the most money of any tight end in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So we'll wait and see how that one. My take on that one, just an FYI, kind of a bonus bold prediction, was that he was going to get traded to Arizona so that Arizona could give that one extra piece to Kyler Murray to basically go all in with Kyler. So, number 1 bold prediction. We'll see what you think about this one, Professor. Tom Brady will finish outside of the top 20 for fantasy football. Last year, he was quarterback number 12 in fantasy. And as I said earlier, this ain't the AFC East.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be one of those years where Tom Brady's just kind of kicking it, having fun, last hurrah, nice weather in Tampa Bay. Let me have fun with Gronk. I'm just enjoying myself because the guy's got enough Super Bowl rings. I mean, I just don't think he's really going to put up much of an effort, and he obviously doesn't have the cast around him.
Yeah, exactly. Now, number 2, I'm going in my own division for this. So I'm back to my NFC East, and it's kind of scary for me as a Washington fan. Daniel Jones will finish as a top 12 fantasy quarterback. Last year, he missed 3 games. If you give him those 3 games, he gets almost 700 yards, and he finishes with just over 3,700 yards. But I think that this year, with having 1 more year in, I think he can get to 4,000 yards, and I think he can make some noise in the top 12.
He will not only have 4,000 yards passing, he will have 30 touchdowns or more. Make him a really big fantasy football grab. He could be one of those hidden gems. I don't know how known he is in the fantasy football world. I don't think that people value him because of how bad the Giants have been, and now they got a new coach. He's kind of this young teeny bopper, kind of putting on the big headset now for the big boys here. So it's going to be interesting. But I like DJ. I think he's really good. Strong arm. He's got a lot of poise, a lot of confidence, and obviously he's making the most of his opportunity last year. I think he'll do even better this year.
Yeah, and look, anybody who can handle the New York press his first year and dethrone and make people forget about Eli Manning, the New England Patriots killer from the NYC. I mean, if you can eradicate those memories from Giants fans' minds and give them hope for the future, Daniel Jones has seemed like the guy that's going to do it. So we'll see. And there's been some mock drafts I've gone through where he hasn't even been drafted, which is absolutely crazy. So number 3, I'm going out west. The new team in Vegas, Josh Jacobs will finish. Wait for this, top 5 running back for fantasy. Last year, he had 131.6 points in 13 games. carry out for the other 3 games, he would have had 211. With the addition of Henry Ruggs to be that speedster to spread the field, teams are not going to be able to load up the box against Josh Jacobs. You still, even as bad as Carr has been in the past, you still got to respect the arm, and you're going to have to respect the wide receiver position because of how they're going to stretch that field.
Carr's been the biggest mystery. I mean, it's funny how a guy who seemed to be the franchise quarterback for Oakland and now obviously Vegas just kind of plummeted. But this is a great bold prediction by you, Dean. And I don't always like to agree with you, but I'm going to because Josh Jacobs is the dude in the backfield. And we talked about that. He's the guy. It's not like the Niners who got like 4 guys back there who could be carrying the ball.
The Niners,
Washington,
like 10.
Right.
They can have half of their running backs go on COVID, and they're good. All that would do is solve some problems. I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly. No, I like it. I like Jacobs. I think he's someone to watch out for, and I think he's going to kind of slide in that fantasy because he doesn't have that sexy name, so to speak.
Yeah. Now, look, this next guy, I'm sticking with another running back. He's with the Bears, talking about David Montgomery. And this guy, for whatever reason, Tariq Cohen got put in last year at times when you did not think that Tariq Cohen belonged in there. Matt Nagy is on the hot seat in Chicago. He's like 2 years removed from winning Coach of the Year. Now he's on the hot seat because he wanted to play cute with his starter. So they spent the high draft capital in David Montgomery. They put a lot in this guy, and for him not to be used was a mistake by Matt Nagy. My bold prediction for him is that he finishes top 10 in fantasy running backs.
I agree. It's funny you talk about Coach Nagy. I mean, you're right. They were so close to. Weren't they a double doinker away from going into the next round?
Yeah, it was nuts. They were trying to pull kids out of high school to kick for the Bears last year just so they could get in. So
they need to protect obviously Mitch Trubisky. They can do that. Obviously, they can give some protection for Montgomery. I like D-Mon. I mean, I really do like DM. He's one of those guys who's got a good opportunity, and like we said, there's no other guys that he is the guy. He's supposed to be their main guy now going into this season.
Yeah. Now, staying with the Bears, and I'm glad you brought up Mitch Trubisky because my next bold prediction, Nick Foles will start for Chicago by week 4. Like I said earlier, the coach is on the hot seat, and it is time to move on. Year 4 or 5 with the Mitch Trubisky experiment. It's over. It's done with. Put a fork in him. He's done.
Chicago, remember back in the day, and it wasn't much back in the day, when Chicago was going through a carousel of quarterbacks, I think they went through like 13 quarterbacks in a span of maybe 5 or 6 years. It was something crazy.
Yeah.
It was all these guys were coming up, he was garbage last year. They think they can put some protection around him. Chicago has made a lot of statements that he is still their guy. So are you telling me he's going to be absolutely atrocious in the first 4 weeks? Because I don't believe that. I don't know if he's going to be good. So I can't buy into that bold prediction. That's probably your boldest prediction. I don't know where that ranks on your list, but that's your boldest.
Wait, my boldest is coming yet. But
okay,
here's my thing with Nick Foles. Nick Foles, for whatever it was, luck, destiny, whatever.
That's backup out there.
He was the Super Bowl MVP.
Right.
When you got a Super Bowl MVP quality caliber quarterback sitting behind a guy who you put so much stock in that you drafted this guy that high.
Yeah.
And he has not produced even close to what you think he should have been producing. It is
the year they went to
third year.
Right. The year they went to the playoffs, he was pretty good. But
yep. But how much of that was on the defense and how much of that was on him?
It's been far. It's been far from it now.
Yeah. So, like I'm saying, I think with the added pressure on Matt Nagy, that if it comes if week one, especially with no preseason to get to say anything about, to be able to get any kind of view on any kind of player, when you see Mitch Trubisky out there, let him throw 2 interceptions in the first game. Let him throw 3 in the second. Let him have a couple of fumbles or not be able to hold a lead in the third game. I'm telling you right now, the powers that be will reach down and touch Nick Foles and make him come in. I mean, we've already seen what he does off the bench. You don't think that those things are going to be running through the press?
Sure.
So he's going to get some pressure. Now, this is a blast from the past, and we're reaching back to Philly. Trey Burton will be top 5 for tight ends with Phillip Rivers in Indy. 2018, Trey Burton had 54 receptions, 569 yards, and 6 touchdowns, and he was playing with Mitch Trubisky in Chicago. Last year, with Phillip Rivers, Hunter Henry had 55 receptions, 652 yards, and 5 touchdowns, and he only played in 12 games. Now, I've seen Trey Burton in Philly. I saw Trey Burton in Chicago. I don't think that the talent is gone. I think he's got something else out there. And you got Jack Doyle as a blocking tight end. You send Trey Burton out there, I think Trey Burton can get the job done. And we all know how much Phillip Rivers loves his tight ends.
He does, and he's got a strong arm. He puts up great numbers. Obviously, he's getting a little bit older. I like it. I do like it, though, because he likes to go to him. Is he going to rack up those interceptions? He probably will. So, I mean, but, hey,
all that means is that he's got to throw more.
They're going to fall in there. Yeah, they're going to fall in there every half the time. You know what I mean? I like it. It's cool.
And here's the thing is that I think the reason that I can say that he can be top 5 with confidence is just the simple fact that there is such a small percentage of difference between top 5 and top 10, or top 5 and let's say top 7. I mean, it was 106. Austin Hooper last year had 116 points. And if you add, let's say, 20 points to that, put him at 136, let's say 137, that puts him up there with George Kittle. So you're looking at somebody in Austin Hooper who I'm like totally hands off of, being 2 good games away from elite status. So I don't know. Is it that bold of a prediction to think that, especially with the quarterback? That's why this is probably one of my less bold predictions, but just the simple fact that it is Trey Burton, that people have totally forgotten about this guy.
But that's Phillip Rivers.
It is Phillip Rivers, and it's Indy. So, okay, so we're going into to number 7, Cam Akers, running back.
Boy, you love this guy.
I love him. I love me some Cam Akers.
He's the dude.
I think he will win Rookie Offensive Player of the Year.
Wow. Okay.
Here's the thing. He's sliding into Todd Gurley's spot. He's already run behind a bad O-line in college at Florida State. He's still got a bad O-line with the Rams.
I don't want to start lecturing the dean on college football and NFL. The speed is totally different. I want to start.
And I get that, but the bad O-line in Florida State and a bad O-line in the pros is 2 totally different things. So he's getting an upgrade, okay?
Right.
So I look back.
So
he's
going to get his touches. I mean,
and here's the thing. I look back at Todd Gurley. And Todd Gurley had 1,251 yards, 17 touchdowns in 14 games, and 256 attempts. In 13 games, Cam Akers in college had 229 attempts, 1,106 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Now, I understand the whole NFL to college thing. I get that.
System, sure.
But just the simple fact that he is used to holding onto the ball 200 plus times, he's got the experience of having those many carries put on his shoulders in college. He's already got that. A lot of these guys are coming out of college. Yeah, a lot of guys are coming out of college with 150 attempts, maybe 160. When you start pushing them up toward that 200 mark is when they start to break. Yeah. Cam Akers ain't breaking.
I'm going to take a look at that rookie class. I mean, but that's a pretty good prediction. I mean, we'll have to see how that runs out.
Yeah, I mean, and we're talking about it. And the reason that I'm putting Cam Akers up there is because I think that he's going to get more opportunity because of his situation, the environment around him. I think that Jonathan Taylor could be a better running back, but I don't think he's going to be able to have as many opportunities because he's got to beat out Marlon Mack with no preseason.
You know who in Louisiana they want?
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I know Damon Williams opting out from the Chiefs makes that such. Here's the thing. Making Clyde Edwards-Helaire offensive rookie of the year is way too easy.
What about in Cincinnati? What about Pretty Boy, cigar smoker?
Oh, you're talking about Joe Burrow? Flaming Joe? No.
Is that the boldest prediction if I say that?
I can't see it. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll make that Professor Chet's boldest prediction of the year is that Joe Burrow wins Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. So
be a hell of a story.
Let's see how that plays out. I don't think it's going to happen simply because it's the Bungles.
Right.
But we'll see.
Right.
So now here's the thing. My next one is for all you boys in Louisiana, everybody watching, anybody who's a Saints fan. Yes, I'm going there. I'm going there. Jameis Winston makes at least 2 starts for the Saints this coming year. Here's why I say that. Drew Brees is probably one of the more protected quarterbacks in the NFL next to Tom Brady by the coaching staff. The coaching staff is wanting to keep him as viable an option down the stretch as possible. If he gets it all dinged up, if he gets a cough during one of the practices, he's going on the list and he will be off limits until he is 100% better. He's either going to get hurt or they will have such a big lead coming down the stretch for that division that they will be willing to save him for the playoffs. They will lock up their spot early, and they will start Jameis Winston, who had the eye surgery, has a little better eyesight, can still make the decision, is a proven starter, threw 30 touchdowns and over 5,000 yards. So it's not like he can't come back from a deficit if he has to. He's got better weapons in New Orleans with him than he did in Tampa. So I think that the confidence in starting Jameis Winston for that organization is at an all-time high right now. So they are confident in being able to sit and save their head man in Drew Brees.
So your prediction is that he will start 2 games this year?
He will start at least 2 games.
Okay.
Whether it be through injury or whether it be through saving him for the playoffs.
Well, okay. Well, Drew Brees, I mean, obviously, yes, he had the injury last year. We saw what Teddy Bridgewater did. It was a freak injury, though. I think it was on the thumb. He doesn't have any kind of chronic ailments, but obviously he's past the age of 40. He's kept himself relatively healthy, so I find it hard to believe that he would get 1, but 2. He could get 1 because I think they're going to lock up the South. I think they're going to lock up the South with maybe 2-3 games, maybe 2 games to play. They're going to clean. I think the Saints are going to win that division. Yeah. So maybe Jameis will get 1 start in like week 17, but that's probably.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing, though, is that you forget at the end of the 2018 season, we saw his shoulder strength drop off a little bit, and that was a big question.
It is. So it is. The strength has dropped off, not just in 20. It has dropped off periodically, really severely, more noticeably now these last 3 years.
Yeah.
But that's not. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. It's hard to think that Peyton would say, "Yo, Breezy, kind of need you to take a seat. He's very stubborn. They kind of like to do what Brees does. He's kind of like the quintessential mayor of, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
New Orleans.
We'll see. Like I said, this is my bold prediction for the Saints. Now, these last two, I went homer on this. If you want to chalk it up to me being a Washington fan for, going on, almost 40 years now.
Uh-oh.
Is
it who I think it is?
My number 9 is that Dak Prescott will be playing somewhere else besides Dallas next year. And here's the thing. They're going to use Andy Dalton as a bridge because we all know that Jerry Jones has something with gingers. He kept Jason Garrett for that long. They went out and signed a backup ginger for Dak Prescott.
Talk about a steal.
We know how much Jerry Jones doesn't like to come off the cash, how much that takes for him to come off of it. Okay, it was like breaking into the CIA inside of Fort Knox for them to pay Zeke. Okay, it was an act of Congress for them to open up the bank for Amari Cooper. Do you really think after the Pat Mahomes deal, seeing how much money Pat Mahomes got, that Dak Prescott is going to settle for some mediocre contract, or that Jerry Jones is going to come off of any kind of big money for him?
Isn't it funny how, quote-unquote, easy our boy Tony Romo got his contract?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. So, come on, guys.
Andy Dalton was actually the biggest steal, though. And this guy was available huge for Dallas to grab.
Yeah.
Talking about a guy who put up numbers in Cincinnati, set records there, very capable. This is a very bold prediction, though, because Dak in Dallas is sticky right now.
And here's the thing, is that I think that, like I said, they're going to use Dalton as a bridge. They're going to go after a veteran backup to back up Dalton. And who knows?
Probably draft a quarterback.
Hey, look, Case Keenum could be available next year. They could sign him to back up Dalton.
So they're getting rid of their quarterback who's throwing.
And go after a rookie in the 2021 draft after going 5-11.
Let me ask you this question: what uniform is Dak wearing after next season? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
What would I like to see him in, or what do I think he's going?
Where do you think he's going?
I could see him, if things don't work out in Indy, they could possibly go after him with the Colts. If
after
Rivers
the 1 year plan with Rivers.
Yeah, if Rivers, plus the fact that if Rivers actually does just bananas, that's, I don't know, let's say this stuff doesn't work out with Cam up in New England. Either Dak or Phillip Rivers could be wearing a Patriots jersey.
Very bold prediction, man. It's radical, but it's not far-fetched. I wish.
Okay, now look, this next one I wrestled with because this was my replacement for David Njoku going to Arizona. Okay, Ron Rivera will win Coach of the Year after taking Washington from worst to first. And here's my defense against this, okay? And I see you rubbing the face, and I know your eyes are rolling back in your head.
Remind me, last time Washington's had a winning season, because you got to go far back and roll the Rolodex.
Yes.
Roll it back a few.
Yeah. You got to go back. The last time that a Washington coach won Coach of the Year was 82-83 with Joe Gibbs. Okay, that's how far back we had to go. His first stint. Okay, but here's the thing, and here's my defense in this. And I thought long and hard about putting this on the list, but here's the defense. There are 3 teams in that division with new coaches. One of them is a first-time NFL coach. There's a lot of turmoil going on in Dallas. There's a lot of attitude there, like we just talked about. The injuries in Philly will continue to pile up. They drafted Jalen Hurts to back up Carson Wentz. So how much confidence are we seeing in Carson Wentz right now? They can say all the right things, but their actions are showing different. And that rookie, like I said, you got that rookie head coach in New York. I don't care how good Saquon and Daniel Jones are going to be. If you're not making the right play calls, forget about it.
Ron Rivera will be the coach of the year?
Coach of the Year. Because think about it. With all the turmoil that we've had this past year, with the name change in Washington, what would be a better NFL conspiracy than to get the Washington, whatever they're going to be called, back up to prominence than having a Coach of the Year come in, a minority coach at that, come in and change the entire concept of the Washington team.
How many games how many games are the Redskins formerly going to win?
I'll put them
They
with
ain't gonna win no 8 games and get Coach of the Year.
I'll put them with 11-5. Like I said, they're going worst to first. 11-5. 11-5. I'll say it right here. 11-5.
Tell that to your wife. She might kick you out for the day just to check your sanity level. There is
no. We already went over
flip
this.
those 2 numbers around, and that's probably where they'll be at.
No, because that's what they were at last season. They were 5-11 last year.
What do they have? We talked about Terry McLaurin. What do they have? There's no supporting cast.
We got the defense.
Oh my God.
Ron Rivera is a defensive coach.
And the offense has to pull their weight. They're going to pull enough weight.
Yes.
Dwayne Haskins, or are we going to?
Dwayne Haskins will be tutored by Alex Smith.
Right.
Okay. He will bring Terry McLaurin up. Jeremy Sprinkle will be a dark horse tight end fantasy.
Okay, I'll give you that, but 11-5, really?
11-5. I'll go out there.
We'll revisit that. And when they're 1-11, I'm just saying. I'm just kidding. They won't be.
We'll see. We'll see. Hey, look, when they finally when they lose their 6th game, then we'll revisit this. But until that time,
you're gonna have some excuse like Skip Bayless or Stephen A. or Max Kellerman on why they had 6 losses. They got screwed in week 3, 4, 5, and 6. I don't want to hear it.
We'll see. We'll see. Like I said, these last 2 were homer picks. I'm hoping for it. So
gave me the warning. Thank goodness.
Exactly. Now, here we go, guys. We're going into. We can't have a fantasy mock draft Monday without a mock draft. So here we go. Last time you saw Chet and I do a mock draft, Chet was in charge. He made the picks, and for the first time ever, and the first time that is ever going to happen is, and unless I hand the reins back over to Chet, a Dallas Cowboy was on this roster. I will guarantee you there will not be a Dallas Cowboy on my roster when we end this, okay?
You get too emotional.
Well, look, I have to do.
Are you surprised I drafted Russell Wilson? I can't stand the guy.
Look, this is a do as I say, not as I do type thing, okay? So I get that if you're in the spot where we're drafting at, and by the way, we're drafting 12-team league from the 4 spot, just for the simple fact that I want to see Zeke off the board so nobody can give me any guff about not taking Zeke, okay? So, and everybody knows what time it is. We're going to thank our sponsor of the show, Zia of Lafayette, down in Lafayette, Louisiana. So thank you guys for sponsoring the show. I appreciate it greatly. If you guys are in the Lafayette area and you want some good food, go down there, order whatever you order. Make sure you get the grits as one of your side items. They're absolutely phenomenal. Go down there and see Heath and Tucker and the rest of the guys down at Zia of Lafayette, right behind the Grand Theater on Johnson Street. They're on Doucette Road, right in front of Red's Gym. So, of course, that wasn't going to happen. We see Derrick Henry, Saquon, and CMC off the board, which gives me Zeke if I want to go that route.
And
okay?
I know you're not going to do it.
I'm not going to go that route. And, guys, I've said before that I really don't. And let's go to our cheat sheets. And we'll hide the drafted players. Now, we're drafting from the 4 spot, so that means that we're going to have a long wait in between picks, okay? The Dalvin, if I'm going to go running back here, of course Zeke is the way that you're going to go, okay? But here's what I'm going to do. And this is just so I can get out of drafting Zeke, okay? We'll go wide receiver. And I've kind of softened my stance on this guy. I know Michael Thomas is due for a drop-off. He's not going to repeat the numbers from last year. However, somebody who I do think is going to be a good pick, Devontae Adams, wide receiver for the Packers. This is pretty much the only guy in Green Bay as far as wide receiver goes. Everyone else is a secondary thought. The number 2 wide receiver in Green Bay is none other than Aaron Jones, who just happens to be the running back, okay? So we'll take Devontae Adams.
I like the pick. Rodgers likes him, and he's going to go to him. So
yeah. Now, we saw Kenny Golladay go off in the pick right before us. And this is something that you want to keep an eye on because he is on the COVID reserve list. So it's going to be interesting to see when he gets off of it and when your draft starts. Because if this is a 2-week thing, he's absolutely fine for your draft for the start of the season. But it's going to be interesting to keep an eye out, okay?
Derrick Henry 3 was nice. I like that pick actually.
Yeah, I like that pick too.
Your horse.
If I'm sitting there at 3, I'm definitely taking Derrick Henry before anyone else. Lev Bell, there's no way on God's green earth that Lev Bell is a second round running back. Okay.
Not this year, that's for sure.
No. Now with being down at number 12, the Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs. I'll tell you right now, if that was me, if I was sitting at 12 and I had those running backs right there, I would have gone probably Josh Jacobs, and I would go ahead with Aaron Jones.
Right. You love AJ.
I like AJ just for the volume. Okay. Now, if you want to go ahead and take Clyde Edwards-Helaire on the back of having Damon Williams opt out for the season, that's perfectly fine and understandable. Okay, so we see that we're on the short turn this time, and we're going to need a running back because I'll tell you right now, those 6 picks, Sanders, Eckler, Carson, Gurley are probably going to be gone along with Travis Kelce or Kittle. Okay, now Gurley might slide through. Carson might slide through on the back of having Kittle go before one of those guys. Okay. If I'm picking here, which I am, I like Austin Eckler. I had him and Melvin Gordon last year, started them both, and both of these guys produced extremely well for me. Okay, so we see the 3rd round come off, and we see, of course, Kelce and Kittle. And Mahomes is gone. And it's surprising to see Mahomes be the first one off. Usually it's Lamar Jackson, okay? Now, the last draft that you guys saw me do, I talked about positional advantage players, okay? I'm at this part of the draft, and I like Carson. I like the Fournette pick. But if I look farther down, I like David Johnson. I think he might make it back to me. And then there's also David Montgomery, who's sitting a little lower. Okay. So to give me a positional advantage, I'll go ahead and I'll take Lamar Jackson in the 3rd.
Wow.
That positional advantage.
That's early, but yeah, I see the positional advantage you're trying to take. You're trying to be the smartest man in the room here. I see it.
Now, both of my guys are gone as far as my running backs are concerned. We see David Montgomery be the next one off the board after I make the Lamar Jackson pick. We see a pretty much even split on wide receiver and running back at this time.
We see chalk across the board.
Yeah, now Darren Waller being off the board before Mark Andrews is kind of surprising. You know, what is Waller? Do we really know
what he is?
Okay. Is he a one-time, 1 year flash in the pan? I don't know. I like Mark Andrews. If Mark Andrews falls to the fourth, a lot of times he's been going in the third. If he falls to the fourth, by all means, I understand you going and getting him because he's basically putting up numbers of a wide receiver too. Okay. Now, here's the one thing about Baltimore that has come out in recent weeks, or in recent days, I should say. Antonio Brown has been suspended for 8 games. They wrapped up his whole mess with the NFL. He's not going to appeal, but Lamar Jackson, just days before this whole thing got put to bed, came out and said that he would like to have Antonio Brown with the Ravens. So imagine if Antonio Brown comes in week 8 with the Ravens, and Antonio Brown, by the way, is cousins with Hollywood Brown, current wide receiver for the Ravens. He and Antonio and Lamar all worked out together back in April.
That could be a deadly scenery there.
That's going to be – and they're trying to get Lamar to be more of a passing quarterback. They're trying to work on his passing this year. So you're going to see the rushing numbers drop, and a lot of people are picking him in this spot as a subsequent kind of like a dual role type player like CMC is. He's a running back and a wide receiver. Lamar is a quarterback and a running back. But they might be pleasantly surprised when he jumps up in those numbers. He's still going to run. Don't get me wrong. I fully believe that he's still going to run and he's still going to get his. It might not be the level that he did last year because people are going to be kind of guarding against that.
Kaepernick. I mean,
Plus the fact that they went out and got J.K. Dobbins to try to take some of that pressure off of Lamar.
Right.
Okay. I don't really think that they trusted Gus Edwards too much. You know, the Gus bus running rampant in Baltimore, but we'll see what happens there. Now, I do like Allen Robinson this year in Chicago. He got taken a couple picks before we got a shot at him. So, next up, and this is kind of almost turning into you would look at as a zero running back draft strategy. But this is what I'm talking about. You take what the draft gives you. If you pass up in the first round that premier running back like we did with Zeke, this is what you're left with, okay? So you got to make the most of your opportunities. And right now, to me, Calvin Ridley at wide receiver on the short turn is the next best thing to being able to get a number 1 wide receiver in that spot.
Right. No, I mean, it's going to be obviously another explosive offense.
Yeah.
Plus, offensive year, I mean, obviously with him and Julio Jones.
Right.
Matty Ice is throw the ball.
So I can't have a bold prediction show. I can't go out there and say that Cam Akers is going to win Offensive Player of the Year or Offensive Rookie of the Year and not draft him. So we take that and we see in the 6th round Chet's previous pick and Russell Wilson go off. And we see Russell Wilson really start the trend because somebody jumped up. They took Dak Prescott in the back half of the 5th, which I got no problem with that. Everyone knows I'm personally not going to make that pick, but being at that spot, and if you want to jump up and get that guy, that team that he's on right there is really light on running backs. Okay, you guys think that I'm light right now with Austin Eckler and Cam Akers? This guy's got Leonard Fournette, and that's it.
That's not enough, yeah.
And he had Tyreek Hill as his first overall pick, which I am going to lay off of this year. There's no way that I'm taking Tyreek in the first. He could have had Julio. He could have had D-Hop. He could have had Galladay. And then he comes back with Chris Godwin passing up on Galladay. He also takes Odell Beckham. I don't like the Odell pick. A lot of people are going out there going, oh, he's going to have a bounce back year. Look, after 3 years of busting, I'm good. Let someone else have that headache. So go back to cheat sheets. Let's see who we got hanging around here. And remember, we've already made our our quarterback pick, so we don't have to worry about a spot later on. We can spend that spot on, more depth at wide receiver, trying to find that gem in the running back position. So if we look at our board, we see wide receiver, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and we've got our quarterback locked up. Now, I want you guys to remember that while you're doing these drafts, you're going to start 9 positions, okay? 7 of them are skill positions. You've got a defense and a kicker that we're not going to worry about until late in the draft. And we're talking, when I say late, we're talking rounds 13, 14, 15, okay? And unless you go after Kelsey or Andrews or Kittle, you're not worrying about a tight end until like probably around, 11, 12? Is that about where you would take them?
Yeah, that's probably where I would take them. Wait till you get down there.
Yeah, wait till you get down there. You can find value later. Like I said earlier, the distance between being a top flight tight end and being a guy who finishes 12th is not that far, okay? It's not going to make or break you if you don't get a Travis Kelce or a George Kittle. It will give you a positional advantage like we've talked about before, but you can make that up with the positions that you miss out on, okay? All right, so that said, let's go to the cheat sheet now. This guy right here, I really haven't been big on this season, and I probably wouldn't take him if this is the team that I'm drafting real life. But talking about taking what the draft gives you, I like the volume that Kareem Hunt gives, and he outperformed Nick Chubb in 6 of the 8 games that they were together. Plus, there's talk coming out of Cleveland that he's going to be lining up in the slot along with
that is huge.
So, I mean, the uptick, and especially if you're
double
playing PPR,
points.
If you're playing, and if you're playing PPR, as we know, points per reception, so you get a point for every time he catches the ball. Having a running back be that, and he could be your flex position, then that's big. But like I was saying about your starting positions, just because you don't want to fill up your starting positions, you need depth at certain spots. You need depth at wide receiver. You need depth at running back, okay? So look for those gems, and you can pass on. That's why you can pass on quarterbacks. You can pass on tight ends, and you can build your depth at wide receiver and running back. So that being said, if we look at our draft board, we see, let's go back, and I don't know about Chet, but I'm real big on balance. I like having balance. I like going back and forth. So I'm going to take a shot here at AJ Green. I think that playing on the franchise tag, I don't think that the organization really wanted him around, but because Joe Burrow came out and publicly said that he wanted AJ Green, I think that the organization was left without a choice of slapping him with the franchise tag and keeping him for one more year. I think he needs to stay healthy. He's going to stay healthy. Joe Burrow is going to gravitate to AJ Green to prove that he is the big arm quarterback that they drafted.
I like the pick. I mean, he was the best. He was the best receiver on the board. I mean, I hadn't seen him else really.
And we're going to go back. We're going to look real quick. We're going to look down here and see who went off. Jarvis Landry went off. Jarvis Landry would probably been my other pick that I would have made at this point.
Yeah.
We see Drew Brees. We see Aaron Rodgers go off in the 7th. Guys, look.
Mac.
Yeah, Mac going off. You got Jonathan Taylor behind him, and I don't know. I think Taylor went off. Yeah, Taylor went off in the 4th. So, guys, you're talking about the veteran who's planted in that offense going off, 5 rounds later? So that should be telling you something about how the fantasy world is viewing these two players, okay? I want nothing to do with them, okay? I'd rather have 70% of something than 50% of something else, okay? I'll take the 70% of Kareem Hunt that he's going to get between the rushing yards and the receiving yards than having Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor battle it out in a non-preseason season where we don't know who's going to be starting when. Okay, these guys could be a split time the entire year. You don't know. Now we see Philip Lindsay, J.K. Dobbins off. I've said before, I want nothing to do with the Denver backfield. Keyshawn Vaughn, I don't like that pick either. He's battling Ronald Jones second.
I like Brandon Cooks in Houston. I like that.
Now, see, my only problem with Cooks is that the man is one hit away from being out of the NFL entirely with a concussion.
True.
So I think there's way too many concussions. And when the Rams let you go, if you're part of that, I mean, when he was in with the Rams, he was in. And it was a three-headed monster between him and Cupps and Wood. So, but when you are let go, and the guy is on like his fifth team, he's played with Brady. He played with Breeze.
Jumping him,
with Golf. And if you're telling me that after those three right there, that you can't submit your place in the NFL as an elite receiver, why should I trust you this late in your career? After you got Will Fuller, they brought in DJ in the backfield, okay? I understand that the targets that D-Hop vacated got to go somewhere, but there's way too many people to spread that around to in Houston. So going back here, and I'm going to make this next pick because I really don't like any of the running backs that are out there, with the exception of maybe Alexander Madison. I'm going to take a chance, and he might still be around on the next round. I'm on the short turn this time, so if he should still be there. I'm going to go out, and I'm going to take Marvin Jones, because with Galladay going on the COVID list, if something else happens, just think about it. If something else happens to Galladay, whether it be injury or COVID list, or if he actually decides to opt out, is Marvin Jones automatically becomes the number one. And the man produces. I mean, look down there. He had 9 touchdowns last year.
Without Stafford, though, this upcoming season.
Yeah, but he's played without Stafford before, because Stafford has gotten hurt. So he still produced. So I'm not concerned for that. And we see
bad looking team you got. It's definitely a unconventional, but you have your own method. So
and we see down here Matt Breida go off, Tevin Coleman, Kerryon Johnson, who is competing with Swift and DeAndre Swift. This is the same thing that happened in Indy with Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor. We see DeAndre Swift go off in the 5th, and then the guy who he is trying to dethrone going off in the 8th. So there's a lot of optimism with this rookie running back class. Yours truly buying into the Cam Akers thing. So, and we see Latavius Murray. I don't mind that pick this late in the draft, just for the simple fact of we've seen how he's been handled by Sean Payton in New Orleans before. He gets a lot of goal line work. The man could wind up with like 5 yards and 3 touchdowns. The only problem with that is knowing when to start him. That's where you run into a problem. Okay, so we went wide receiver after going running back. Let's go back, and my boy Alexander Madison. I try not to leave a draft without taking Madison, just for the simple fact that I don't trust Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook has never made it to the fantasy football championship. So if you're going to rely on Dalvin Cook to get you there, who is going to get you the win? So if you've got Alexander Madison this late and you've got solid running backs before him, stash him on your bench, wait for Dalvin Cook to go down, slide him in. You got exactly the same production, if not better.
I feel like Madison's going to get the touches. Yeah, I think he's going to get more touches and more opportunities. So
Yeah.
I feel like I like the pick a lot.
All right, so we see CeeDee Lamb go off, we see Jerry Jeudy go off, and Henry Ruggs. Now, those three right there, I don't want anything to do with. I think that CeeDee Lamb has a really crowded wide receiving room.
Huge.
Jerry Jeudy, I'm not sold on Drew Lock. I like Drew Lock, but I'm not totally sold on him.
Sure.
And I will lay a disclaimer on this, is that I love Noah Fant. Okay? So as a tight end, I love Noah Fant, and we'll probably wind up going and getting him, if not the 11th and the 12th, if he's still there, okay? But if I'm going to go out and I'm going to look at this and I'm going to go get a wide receiver who's a rookie wide receiver, I'm going to Jalen Reagor, guys.
Wow.
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking I was going Justin Jefferson. And I like Justin Jefferson. But with all the injuries happening and with the wide receivers leaving Philly, and let's see, Marquise Goodwin, he's opted out for Philly.
How did you not go with Darius Slayton? That was DJ's biggest target this year.
I like Slayton, but
you don't like him enough.
I don't like him that much, and
Yeah.
I like there's Sterling Shepard, there's Saquon.
Right.
There's a lot of targets that he could go to. I understand that that might be the guy he gravitates to, but with that rookie head coach coming in, that's one of the factors there too. With Jalen Reagor coming in, they spent a very high draft pick on this guy. He's being brought in. It's going to be him and Deshaun Jackson, and that's it in Philly. There's nobody else. They're either hurt or they've opted out, or they just don't have the experience. So let's go. And I don't know if you guys can hear it or not. I think my dog is trying to make a appearance on the show. So
I think he's trying to make a pick. Not too happy with your team right now.
That's okay. I think she's a Saints fan, so she probably got upset with me talking about Winston starting. Now we see Tony Pollard here. Tony Pollard again is another pick that is fine late in the draft, and this is a guy who could get a lot of work if Zeke goes down. Okay, so let's check out the cheat sheet, and we saw Alshon. I want to bring up the draft board just real quick. We see Alshon Jeffries. We were just talking about the Philly wide receivers. Alshon Jeffries will not be available for the first week of the season. I'm telling you right now. Okay, there's a possibility he could start on the PUP list. If he starts on the PUP list, he's out for 6 weeks.
Right.
Okay, so
you see defenses getting picked now. The Niners, now the Steelers.
Right. I mean, so here's the thing that I'm going to do, and I've said before that you can wait on defenses. You could not even draft a defense. You could go streaming defense and be okay. And I also talked about positional advantage. And I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take a positional advantage at this point. Okay. I'm going to go ahead, and I believe, and I know Professor and I are going to differ on this one, I will put Baltimore's defense ahead of San Fran's. San Fran's is being ranked as number 1, and then Pittsburgh is number 2, with Baltimore being number 3.
I think the only blemish the Niners have is their secondary. They needed a piece. They needed a Jamal Adams, basically. They just didn't want to give up 2 first rounds for him.
Yeah, they weren't paying that high of a price.
You're talking about a front 7. I thought the Niners had the best front 7.
Yeah,
defensively. But,
So we see down here, guys. We've already got our defense. We've locked up our quarterback a long time ago. So go up here, and I really don't see a whole lot as far as running backs go that I can't wait on, okay? So I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to take the guy I talked about, the guy I'm loving this year, Noah Fant, later in the draft. The Hayden Hurst pick is okay. I'm cool with that if that's the way you want to go. I think that there are just way too many targets in Atlanta this year. Plus, I've already got Calvin Ridley on my team, so I really don't want two Falcons because I'm going to have to replace them on their bye week. And I'm going to make – I'll put it out there now. My last pick of the draft when we get down there might shock you. So stay tuned. If you're trying to tune out on me, don't. And remember, while you're down there looking at, the comments and you're wanting to say, hey, you're crazy, I can't believe you're doing this, go ahead and click that subscribe button for me, okay, guys? And remember, you can find me now on Twitter as well, at FantasyDean20 on Twitter.
I can't believe how high Deebo Samuel went.
Deebo went kind of high, yeah. I don't – with that injury, I'm not –
It's such a reach.
Yeah. I'm not buying that. So now with Antonio Gibson going, guys, if there was gun to my head, if I had to pick one Washington running back to take, I will go ahead and take Antonio Gibson simply for the unknown. Okay? Simply for the unknown. Everybody knows that Darius Geis is the guy that they're going to lean on. But Antonio Gibson, there's something about this kid that I like. So let's look up here at running back and see if there's anybody who we like. Now, I'll tell you right here, top of the list.
You like A.J. Dillon?
I'm loving A.J. Dillon. I like A.J. Dillon at this spot. We see him go off. And we also see Carlos Hyde going off. That's another guy that I looked at who, if Chris Carson goes down, you're talking about a backup running back who has starter experience, plus the fact not only just starter experience, but workhorse starter experience. This guy had over 250 carries in Houston last year. That's why he's sitting in New England or sitting in Seattle, okay? Right. So we look at this. Let's check out our draft board real quick. We'll roll down here. And we see all the defenses going off, and we see all the backup running backs going off. And we see a couple of kickers go off. Butker with KC goes, and is that Rohrweiser?
Yeah.
That's the kicker for New England?
Yeah.
Okay. Guys, that right there is purely a Cam Newton influence, because if Stedman was in there, his kicker's not going. The New England kicker isn't going. Okay.
His name's Jared Stidham.
Stidham. Yeah, you see how much I pay attention to the backup. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and start calling him that just to get on Chet's nerves, because I think that bothers Chet.
It doesn't bother me. It's just that I know who he is. Not that I really care about him all that much. But.
Yeah, because look, guys, you know that Butker is for KC is the number one kicker, and you see the New England kicker go off. This guy isn't even top 10. Okay, you got to go down here and see he's not even top 20, and he's off the board. Okay, so I mean, I'd rather have any of these guys, and Zane Gonzalez down at number 8 is my favorite. I think he's going to be kicking a lot this year. So let's take a look.
You're passing up on Justin Tucker.
No, well, here's the thing: is that I've got Lamar. I think that with Tucker, it's going to be a lot of extra points and not a lot of field goals.
Yeah.
I think that with Zane Gonzalez, I think that they could possibly stall.
Right.
And they're going with that defense. They are going to need every single point they can possibly get just to win and just to stay in games. Okay? Because, I mean, tell me I'm lying when I say that the Arizona defense is absolutely garbage.
It is.
So, okay, so guys, we're here in the 14th. I'm going to go ahead and let's go down here and we'll go ahead and get our kicker because I want the last pick to show you guys something that not a lot of people think about when they're doing drafts. Okay. So let's go down here. We'll get the guy that I'm liking, Zane Gonzalez. We'll draft. Actually, I tell you what, I want to take a look real quick. I'll break this down real quick for you. Will Lutz, yes, he will kick a lot of field goal or a lot of extra points. I don't know how many field goals he's going to kick. Greg Zuerlein, he's Dallas. I'm not taking him, obviously. And if he's out there for you and you want to go ahead and depend on that, fine. I think that when Dallas is going to score, Dallas is either going to score a touchdown or they're going to punt. That's it. I don't see a whole lot of stalling in the red zone.
Here's a curious one, though. The Niners have been stalled quite a bit. They do kick their share of field goals. Robbie Gould, dealing with injury last year, says he's fully healthy, ready to go. He could have a bounce back year. I think he's one of those guys you do have to watch out for if you're thinking about a fantasy kicker.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, guys, if you want to step out there on another guy, if you want to go ahead and step out on Matt Gay with Tampa Bay, you want to talk about stalled. I think that Tampa could definitely stall.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm going to go, like I said, I'm loving Zane Gonzalez. I'm going to go ahead and take him just because I believe in Kyler Murray. I believe in the potency of the Cliff Kingsbury offense. And I absolutely believe that Arizona is garbage when it comes to defense. So they're going to be kicking everything all over the place. They're going to need every single point they can possibly get. Okay.
Post that I used to work for used to call it "Keep It Close" Chet about field goals.
Yes. Yes.
Field goals win you games too.
So I'm going to have to go down here and I'm going to pull up
Oh no.
the wide receivers.
You're digging one out of the hatch here, aren't you?
And guys, to be honest with you, I don't even know if he's here. Well, we're going to go down. No, actually, it's not.
I'm kidding.
Actually, it's not. Antonio Brown, as I said earlier, has been rumored to have he has ties with Baltimore already. He's already worked out with Lamar. Tell me that this would not be the absolute steal of the draft.
You'd be the smartest man in the room.
Hey, to get the number one wide receiver halfway through the season to carry you into the championship, plus you've doubled up on your wide receiver and your quarterback to get the double.
The funny thing about Antonio Brown was it wasn't that far long ago when that guy used to go first round.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now he's a free agent because and here's the thing too, is that even if he doesn't go with Baltimore, imagine if he went back to New England. Imagine if he went to, I don't know, let's throw one out there. Let's throw out Carolina. What if he went to Carolina with Teddy Bridgewater? That would be a recreation of what Teddy Bridgewater had in New Orleans with Michael Thomas.
So you kind of got the new age team sprinkled in with the little vet, like.
Exactly. So we see the positional advantage here with Baltimore and with Lamar, okay? And yes, I'm leaning heavy on Baltimore, okay? Who wouldn't? After what they did last year, and there's no sign of slowing down, okay? Especially in this COVID-shortened season, any team, a la the New Orleans Saints, who have a coaching staff in place, along with a veteran core of players, those guys don't need an offseason to click. They've already clicked. There's nothing changing about this team, okay? They're just moving forward. They're tweaking here and there. They can do that in camp. They don't need the preseason. I'm convinced that Sean Payton is calling up Roger Goodell going, hey, look, the whole pass interference thing didn't work out. Can you just go ahead and skip the preseason so none of our guys get hurt? And yes, Saints fans, I went there. Sorry. So we got Eckler and Akers. We've got a solid running back with a question mark in the rookie. We got Kareem Hunt, can be a dual threat. We got Devontae Adams and Calvin Ridley. Guys, I don't know how you could get better at wide receiver than that. Okay, that is just a lockdown wide receiver core right there. A.J. Green and Marvin Jones coming off the bench And then you got Alexander Madison, Jalen Rieger, who could be absolutely phenomenal. A.J. Dillon, if anything happens to Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon is more than capable of stepping in. The only wild card we got is Antonio Brown, guys.
Which could be just the hidden assassin.
It's going to be nuts. All right. So that's the lineup. Guys, go down bottom, subscribe, like, and share. Tell us how we did. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you want to see next on Mock Draft Monday, okay? Chet, we got any parting words? Yes.
Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Fantasy Football Academy.
Or it's at Fantasy Dean 20. You can search Fantasy Football Academy 2020 and make sure that while you're there, go ahead and follow at Chet_Yoder to follow Professor Chet on his Twitter page as well, guys. You're going to be able to see this show and everything else that Chet's doing up there in Shreveport, okay? So, guys, for Chet, myself, the Dean, this has been Fantasy Football Academy 2020 and Mock Draft Monday. Remember, draft strong, trust your gut, and if you're going out, mask up, guys. Take care of each other. Until next time.